What up, Speed Doc Nation? In our last video, you saw us pit the 2021 base Porsche Cayenne against the 2021 top-of-the-line $83,000 Lincoln Aviator. At the end of it, I think Dr. X kind of chose the Aviator. I chose the base Cayenne, but to be real, the Cayenne I like is my old trusty. So today, we're gonna compare old and busted versus new HOTNESS. And let's see which one you guys think. We got a 2021 black on black Cayenne versus my 2008 V8 Cayenne S with a couple of little modifications to it. So come with me on this journey, y'all. So first, let's look at the front of these cars. When I step back and look at both of these Cayennes, I've always felt like the newer Cayenne looks a little bit feminine. So when I went to get me an SUV, I actually purposely looked for this model, which is called the Chassis 957. Okay, the very first Cayenne was the 955. So this is technically the second Cayenne. So not the oldest one, but one of the oldest ones. Now, I wanted this one because it comes with a lock-in differential. It's a really heavy-duty truck. Like, I've been mudding in it. Y'all gonna see us doing that, playing with it. It's a very rugged vehicle. And when I look at the two side by side, the old one actually looks a little bit bigger than the new one. Now, the new one, in turn, is more agile when I drive it. But this one here feels more truckish. Like, I call it a truck. There are subtle fender flares in the front and in the back that you don't see on the new Cayenne. The new Cayenne kind of rounded and softened up all those elements that I really, really like. So let's compare. On mine, I've done kind of a cheap route of tinting the headlights. They need to be re-tinted, or I can buy the Porsche optional ones, but now if I find them, it's gonna be about $2,000. And honestly, this is like my rig. I don't know if I want to spend $2,000 on that. Then I've got these LED lights here on the front, whereas on the new one, we've got the factory Porsche option headlights that are black, and you've got the new style LED lights here. So let's actuate both of those. On the 2021, one of the things that I really like, the Porsche signature 4 LEDs in the light housing. When you see that, you know it's a Porsche pulling up. Porsche has adopted this as the look of Porsches going forward. One of the things about this reminds me of, I think, what those aliens looked like in the movie Skylines. Cayenne has a 335 horsepower turbo V6. You've seen how it easily defeated the Lincoln Aviator with its 500 horsepower. My Cayenne S has a 4.8 liter V8 with about 415 horsepower because I've gotten a tune on it, as well as I've done some exhaust work, some secondary cat bypass pipes. And if you take a look on my Cayenne S, I've got larger brakes on it, and we've got the 22-inch Rohana wheels that I've had powder coated black. I tried to go for a blackout theme on this one. Meanwhile, on the 2021 Cayenne, it's got 20-inch wheels as factory standard. I think it was an option. I'd have to look at the build sheet. Other than that, if you compare the two, we've got our folding mirrors that are automatic. As you come on back down this way, you can see where there are some similarities. I can still see a little bit of the body line here. One of the noticeable differences, you can see where this area here has been graduated up from this area here in an attempt to make this more sleek, the greenhouse more sleek, and you can still see some of those carryover elements. Now, one of the carryover things that Cayennes maintained all the way from 2008 to 2021, let's take a look at the roof spoiler. Mine, theirs. Automatically, when you look at the rear end of these two vehicles, clearly this is the newer vehicle, because Porsche has also gone to the wraparound tail lights on all their cars. On this one, it's more of a functional thing. Now, it can't be it can't go without being said, the original Cayenne is also based on the Volkswagen Touareg, which didn't live life in as an illustrious manner, okay? The Touaregs typically tended to be a little bit less reliable. I haven't had any problems out of this truck. It's been dead bones reliable. Like I love the truck, to be real. Now I've got my towing package, my tow hitch, the dual exhaust here. I've got the red Cayenne emblem, all that came from the factory like that. And of course, when you look at this one, you can see that the exhaust outlets are much larger, but the truck has about 100 less horsepower. You know, you can see a little bit of diffuser work there. On this one, they have a little bit of the body work is in a different manner. I would say that when you look at these two, this is just a sign of the times. The automotive design trends. Most cars now kind of try to do a little bit of diffuser action. When I say diffuser action, we're talking about this, the strakes. Whereas on this truck, they try to do something a little bit different, a different type of molding. And that's indicative of the age and the generation that the cars come from. Now, if you open them up, as you can see, I use mine as a pickup truck. I've got everything in there. Hey, you need some coolant, some oil, I got all that in there. You got a flat tire, I got you. You need jump, I got you. You need me to hang up a picture, I got you. So I really use mine. And where's this? For all my noobs out there, you know, in case anybody want to trade, or if I get charged up, we got something for you. So let's take a look at what we got here. Cargo capacity is severely lacking in the new one, mainly because of the new slope and strake on this vehicle. So you don't get a chance to put as much stuff or as many awkward shaped items. So the utility award goes to this truck here. I have to tell you, now this is great for groceries and all of that, but it's nowhere near as usable as the old truck. So if we hop into 2021, first off, the tech is dope. Like the screen, it's like, it senses when your finger comes closer, so options start to appear. It's got the whole little glass panel with the haptic feedback, the gear shift, you press the button. Everything feels really well built. The trim in here is the piano black. I'm not a big fan of that. To be honest, I'm very lukewarm to black on black inside. I feel like this car is at $80,000. I kind of like color contrast. So if it was my spec, I'd probably go with red stitch, red seat belts, or red seats, or like something crazy. I wouldn't do just black, because I feel like black tends to hide interior details on certain cars. Now, if you take a look, when people say, why do I like Porsche, I always talk about the build quality. Let's look at it. And if you're driving right now, reach down in your car, whatever you're driving, try to adjust your seat and feel what that feels like. Feel what that switch feels like. Now look at how Porsche does it. This feels like it's like milled metal. Even though it's probably some type of plated plastic, it doesn't feel that way. It has some weight to it. Each one of these switches, like you feel quality. It's like when I look at this and feel this and press these buttons, I feel like I know what I've paid for. You know, the switches here have a nice black finish on them, which is cool. All this, I mean, it just feels like quality, right? Now, if we hop in, it feels more performance oriented than my 2008. My 2008, as you guys will see, the seats are more comfortable. They're softer. The seats in here are a little bit hard, which is a little bit of a disappointment. You can tell that the intention in this spec was more on the sports side. So that's kind of a letdown coming from the 2008. Interior wise, I think that the new one, obviously, the new tech, the screen, all this kind of stuff, this roof here that's panoramic that goes front to back, all that is killing it. I'm not gonna lie. But it does not feel like a luxury vehicle. It feels like a expensive sports car. This is when you start looking at it as, hey, look, Porsche is a performance car company building luxury cars and building luxury SUVs versus, let's say, if you start talking about Mercedes AMG, Mercedes is a luxury car company that might build some sporty vehicles. With Porsche, the intention up front is sports and agility. And that's even evident when I look in the dash here, and it's the tachometer is the thing that's front and center here. That's the most important gauge that you need in a car, in a performance car. So you notice you got the paddle shifters, which are requisite. Even the feel and touch of the volume control here and the temperature controls, all that's first rate. So I don't know, man, it's kind of a toss-up. The tech in the new one is dope, but I do miss the luxury accoutrements of the other one. And then this isn't suede up here like it is in mine. So here we are in my 08. Now this one, everything inside looks a little bit more analog, but got the wood wheel, which that one doesn't have, but it's more geared towards luxury. The seats are like pillow soft. You can see the gathered leather in here, the wood grain, real wood grain at that, you know. Everything feels plush. The heated seats, that has heated and cooled seats also. This just has heated seats, but this has an old school lock-in differential. So I've been in flood waters in it. Like I said, I've been mudding in it. It crawls like a billy goat. Y'all go search on YouTube videos of Porsche Cayenne versus Wranglers off-road. You know, in here, I've got suede interior. Now, I don't have a panoramic roof. I got to use my hand to do this so I can have my little see-through situation. I've got a double-din unit, rear view camera. I can watch YouTube in here. All that's aftermarket, though, that I did to bring it up to 2021 entertainment standards. Overall, it's a comfortable place to be. This handles more like a truck versus a crossover. That one handles somewhat more crossover, like it splits the difference between crossover and real SUV. This is 100% SUV. When you ride in this or you drive this, there is no illusion that this is a crossover. You start thinking along the lines of Wrangler, Bronco, 4Runner, Land Cruiser type. It's a very rugged vehicle. It's very, very stout. All-wheel drive. That one's all-wheel drive, but that one's all-wheel drive system feels more tailored to on-road versus off-road. So now, let me fire this up so you can hear the difference. And then automatically, if you know me, if you've been watching our content, you'll see immediately why this one is my favorite. And it sucks because the subsequent Cayenne S's ditched the V8 and went to a twin turbo V6 with similar horsepower but more torque. You had to get a V8, you need to step up to the turbos and go. So off top, when I'm driving this, you feel the bigger motor. You feel that this car has more power. And it's on paper, it's got about 100 more horsepower than the V6 in the base Cayenne. That one's rated 335 or so, right? And we're north of 400 in this one, but only because I modded it. The regular Cayenne, or the Cayenne S that was stock of this generation, was rated at 385 horsepower, right? The GTS was rated at 405 horsepower. Well, I've done the secondary cat bypass pipes, and I've also tuned it. So I'm pushing about 415, 420 horsepower. Now we're at the crank, okay? Now that's also the reason why my truck sounds a little bit more aggressive, and I love the way it sounds. We got the sport mode, we've got the lock-in differentials. It's very responsive in sport. If the base Cayenne is quicker than this one, it's gonna all be attributed to the transmission, because this transmission, like this is 2008, so it's not just about horsepower or torque and all that kind of stuff. It also goes into weight management, weight distribution, and transmission above all else. So this is an old school automatic transmission, no paddle shifters. I have the old school Tiptronic buttons that really, they're not that responsive. If you really want to drive this truck aggressively, you kind of know how to time your press of the button with when you want the power to come on. So this is old school technology in here. You know, the 4.8 liter direct fuel injected motor. It's a strong motor. It's a good, reliable motor. I've never had any issues with this truck at all. The wood wheel, something about a wood wheel, I'm not gonna lie to you. Maybe because I'm from Texas or whatever. My favorite song is UGK Wood Wheel. But when you ripping on the wood wheel, you feel like nobody can tell me I'm not in a Rolls Royce in my mind, you know. So, but this truck here can get up and go, you know. I like the responsiveness of a naturally aspirated motor, and it feels kind of truckish. You know, it's not sharp. The other Cayenne, the base one, when it's not on boost, when the turbo has not kicked in, it's not as responsive. Now, when you're in the midst of boost with the turbocharged motor, you can feel that nice responsive power band. But when you floor it in that base Cayenne, there's no launch control function in that one, and there's no launch control function in this one. So it's like whatever you get, that's what you get. So when you floor it in the base Cayenne, there is a lag. Now see, in this, I've got power no matter where I press the pedal, I've got power. It's giving me power. So it feels really good. You know, it feels like an old school American muscle car, really, to be honest. That's the closest thing I can attribute it to. And you can probably hear the motor in the background. That exhaust note is delicious. Whereas the base Cayenne, it sounded like a vacuum cleaner. I wasn't really feeling that one too much.